welcome to the Friday show. I'm Ray Paulick, joined by Joe Nevills and special guest this week, Stacy Campo. We are brought to you by Woodbine, which had a big weekend last weekend with their Turf Champions Day, led by the Rico Woodbine Mile. And big news out of Woodbine this week is the retirement of Canadian Hall of Fame rider Gary Boulanger, who's had a tremendous career. Well, Stacy, thanks for joining us on the Friday show this week. I wish we had something better to talk about, but the news this week, not necessarily a big surprise, but still devastating to a lot of people, is that Jerry Sims is not selling Turf Paradise right now because the deal with some developers and possible operators as a racetrack deal fell through. Jerry Sims said he's retiring and he's not going to reopen the track this year.
And, that's what we're hearing. That's exactly what we're hearing in the memos, and pretty much, be prepared to, say goodbye to a place that, not for him, but for some of us, has been a staple since day one. So it's sad.
Yeah. So you train horses there, but you're part of a family operation that breeds, raises horses, and races there. Tell us first of all a little bit about the operation of the farm and your training.
Sure. We've got a small place. We're not as big as Fleming's or Hidden Springs, but it's home for us. We're in Waddell, Arizona, which is just outside of Phoenix, just kind of farm country. Mm-hmm. Lots of grass, lots of flood irrigation at 2:00 in the morning. So my dad, he's got 34 horses, and we breed to race. Very rarely do we actually put a horse through the sale and let it go. We have in the past, and they've done very well, which is good because, we get breeders awards. So, even if we're not the ones training it, somebody gets the opportunity to enjoy what we put our blood, sweat, and tears in and raising for them to enjoy. It's always fun to jump in the winner's circle and somebody else has one of our horses. We're happy for them. And so I just basically have kind of taken over the last, past maybe 12 years, been working really, really, really hard and training his Arizona breds.
So I'm sure I already know the answer to this, but if you could put it into your own words, what has the vibe been amongst Arizona's horsemen since this news has come out? Has it been shock? Has it been sort of planning for the next step? What have the discussions between you and the other horsemen at Arizona been?
Well, and the thing is, I have a lot of people that communicate with me, which is great because, I do keep up since I'm home. I've been home since May. It's really hard for me to pack up and go to another track and run, which is the sad part is we wouldn't mind having like Arizona Downs going, but because, of the simulcast and the signal and the way it was set up after, Yavapai Downs closed down, we kind of had hope for, 3 years that, at least we'd be continuing racing, year-round racing, summer, winter. And, we kind of had this feeling that, racing is going to be great in Arizona, and then the breeding has changed. The governor gave us $5 million for the breeding, and then they gave $5 million to the horsemen. We're thinking we've got this momentum going, year-round racing. And then it just came to a halt, but it's almost like we've been seeing the writing on the wall just by the way, the place looks and how it's just kind of fallen apart around us and it hasn't improved, but yet we're all improving. We're all breeding better, doing better, wanting more to happen in the state, and it's just kind of weird to see something like turf closing. It just was a shock, and people are crying. People have been fired. The tellers are concerned about their livelihood. There are people that have been employed with the track long before, Jerry was ever even part of it. I mean, I've got one young lady who works there, Danny, and she's worked for the track for 40 years in that building. And it's just, it's devastating. It's devastating.
So what are the prospects for you and for the family in terms of what you're going to do with your horses? Unless there's an 11th hour miracle, Turf Paradise is not going to open.
well, it's a good thing I got faith. It's a good thing that I'm a good Catholic girl and believe that there is a chance to have that possibility of somebody purchasing a track. Arizona Downs is still a viable track. It's a viable track because it is set up already to run. They did the samples on the track. It's not going to take long to get it up and going. There's a couple storms have kind of blown over a couple of the roofs on the barns, but nothing that can't be fixed. So, that gives us hope knowing that we have tracks here. We've got Relito. They can't, house the horses there, but they do play a huge part of the racing family. So we've got Relito, Douglas, Sonoyta, Safford, and Arizona Downs, which still gives us that hope. So you're thinking, you're saying the 11th hour, we're saying, just open and we'll give you the stock to run. We have it. We're here. We're waiting. We're not. The Campo family, we're not selling off the stock. We're not moving. We're not doing anything. We're going to stand right here until the day they say racing's dead. And it's not dead.
When people think of sort of the higher level of Arizona racing, obviously Turf Paradise and Arizona Downs come to mind. But, you listed off so many different sort of fair tracks and, Relito. Has there been communication with those level of tracks of, hey, maybe we can carry a little bit more of the load and keep a viable circuit going? Or has that discussion are we not even to that point yet?
No, there is a discussion. Only reason with Relito, they kind of the infield, they kind of turn into soccer fields because it's kind of county run. They maybe have 100 stalls. So Arizona Downs, I think we can hold 800 to 900 horses, and that's the problem is, we would love to go down and just say, we'll just run in Relito. They're not capable of handling the amount of horses. We've got purse structure, we've got it from, from running, we could easily make it a great place to go, but it's not feasible at this moment. Arizona Downs is feasible. And that is pretty much where I think we need to consider going with the amount of horses and also keep Relito going too, because we'll have horses in training that will allow Relito to have horses to run. You got to remember, we have to have horses here. And right now there's nobody here.
There at the time that the Turf Paradise proposed sale was announced, there was also a potential buyer for Arizona Downs. That also fell through, I think. Is the current owner prepared to run races this year? There's some financial backing that's right now being addressed and worked out. There's some horsemen that are kind of coming forward to say, hey, if it's the money issue that we can get resolved, we can get it up and going. So what they need to do is get that signal. Once Jerry, releases that signal, which he doesn't really own the signal, but it feels like he does. He doesn't. It used to be, and what it should have been right off the bat, where Arizona Downs would have been successful, would have that signal only run at turf like it used to. They would have the signal on during a live meet. So Turf Paradise would have it. And then after turf would be May, it would switch over to what at the time was Yavapai Downs. And then so during the summertime, they would generate purse money. And then in the wintertime, that signal was shut off and it would go back. But once Arizona or Yavapai was shut down and there was a 10-year hiatus of no racing, Jerry kind of took over the summer to, produce purse funds for us, which was great. But once we had the option to be able to have racing up there, it should have went back. And I'm not really sure exactly why it didn't. And I think that's the reason why Arizona Downs struggled on the purse, the funding. So, but there are backers, there's some people that are willing to help out to get that track open, which like for us being here in Arizona bred and we want to run our Arizona horses, that's an option.
I thought I heard something about potentially New Mexico tracks carting some Arizona bred races. Have other states around Arizona reached out with any kind of ideas of, look, if this doesn't work out, come run with us?
That's one of those, rumor kind of hearing, like I said, it's weird. It's like we're in this really strange bubble that, people talk about things. You're like, did you hear? And I'm like, this is really reminding me of some past shows that were comedy shows that I'm just like, wait a minute, no, I did not hear, but tell me and I will tell you if it's true or not. I have enough people that I'm connected to on a personal level that I can get answers, at least, get answers for some of their questions. Some of them, if I don't have the answer, I'll try to find it.
Mhm.
So Phoenix is the fifth largest city in the country. You've got all the major league sports franchises there in Phoenix. This reminds me a little bit of Boston or Chicago even. Boston lost Suffolk Downs, Chicago lost Arlington, it still has Hawthorne. But did Phoenix support racing? Was it a lack of support there? Was it a lack of interest of the owner to put on a good, to give a good customer experience for people? What happened?
Well, we haven't really had a good customer experience for a while. Since COVID, we went 2 years without food, no concession stands, no alcohol, no drinking, but they finally opened up a bar.
Didn't he actually sell all the kitchen equipment at some point?
Yeah, he took, after when COVID hit, he pretty much, that's when we thought we were done. And then he sold all the tables, and you can't go upstairs anymore at Turf Paradise. It's been closed off for 3 years. Where basically with the Turf Club was like one of the great places to sit because you have this view and you have good food and you just have the atmosphere. That's been closed off for 3 years. See, we got the downstairs clubhouse or downstairs general area. It's lacking a little bit of, that, come on in, spend some money, enjoy, a great day of racing and the pageantry of, the horses. Thank goodness the horses look good because they make the place look good, So there's just been a lack of putting money into the track to make it inviting to want to, I used to love seeing all the buses from Sun City, and Sun City's our community area in Arizona. And they would ship it. They were the funnest people in the world. They loved it, and I miss seeing, that's the best part about being at a racetrack is seeing the people, but we do have a lot of OTBs. So a lot of people, don't actually come to the track to actually watch it live. But there's those diehards that they have to look at the legs and they got to yell at the jockeys when they go by. And, and that's what makes you want to be at a live meet. So you want to make the place inviting to go, and there has been a lack of that since COVID. And it's been sad because, like I said, it's our home track.
I would suspect there's been a lack of that since before COVID, actually.
Maybe I was trying to be nice.
Having gone there a number of years ago, I didn't really get the most welcoming feeling walking in the gates.
No, but like I said, you have to, and the thing is, it's crazy is he's at Del Mar, he's in the Turf Club. He's got every year I've been going to Del Mar in the summertime, and see him there every single day. It just seems like it's funny that his own backyard doesn't have that same charm and charisma that a place where he loves to be at all summer long, so to me, it's just like, it's weird. But then you can go up to Arizona Downs and then you go up there and they're like, come eat, we've got his buffet, you got to see our, they make these Bloody Marys that are just like topped with like the whole entire kitchen, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, I want to come here tomorrow. So the town showed up, and it was just weird to turn around and hear the crowd yell. But if you don't have that, you don't have that vibe, and you don't have the food and the excitement and the concerts after and everything, it's hard to draw the fan in. And we've been lacking that. And we need those fans. Those fans kind of give those horses that oomph to want to go a little further, because the crowd just, hey, they're yelling, hey, that gray horse, go win,
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the selling off the kitchen equipment after COVID, and not a whole lot of money invested in the plant before that. It seems like it would be difficult to long-term plan if a track like that is not necessarily showing the will to live, but you have a breeding program, you have horses that are running for over the course of years. How have you managed to sort of keep the faith for long-term planning when it seems like there's not a whole lot of long-term planning going on the part of the host?
Yeah, maybe part of the host, but there's so many people that love it so much. You just don't get that feeling it's over. I mean, it's like if we did, we'd be selling the horses off. We'd be going through sales. We wouldn't be breeding back. We've got a stallion. We've got a fan favorite in Arizona named Arizona Moon. And, he's just kind of this hard knocking horse that just, he didn't want, actually, he won his last out at 9 years old, and it was January. And I go, February is, breeding season. And I'm like, Dad, we can run him one more time in January. And he's like, well, breeding's right. We're retiring this horse. I'm like, one more race. So we ran him, and now he stands here at a stallion. So we just have this drive to want to keep moving forward, even if somebody doesn't want to. Does that make sense? Does it make sense that you just like, you've got this, and in Fleming's, you go down there and you see all the studs they have, and the sales have been actually so good. We had a horse from our Arizona sale win a grade 1, in New York, and we just had another Arizona bred in Minnesota. I think it won 5 times, and they sold it for some astronomical amount of money, and it has AZ attached to it, which is crazy. So, because, I like to say we have the credit that this state could be anything. We've got football, baseball, everything, but you got to think about it. If you go to the fairgrounds if you ever go to the state fair in Arizona, the grandstand there is the old racetrack. And, and I've got a postcard from 1907 where a family went to go to the races, and it was a 3rd territorial. And this is before we're a state, so racing in the state of Arizona, we had a racetrack at 64th, I think, in Thomas called Arizona Downs. And, racing has been here. So we have been here. Jerry doesn't want to be here. He doesn't have to be. We will find a way, or find somebody who goes, you know what? You love it. You've got the horses. You've got the farms. You have the capability of keeping the sports alive in all modalities, and racing is a sport. Let's give it a chance. Let's maybe buy the track, or, buy a track, or build a track, or, let's make Arizona Downs, the next destination, which Stronach was one of the people that was interested. And I'm hearing they're still interested. It's just, there's been so much animosity with, Turf Paradise and the signal, and who gets it and what gets it. And, now we're going to have a clean slate, no racing in the state. Why not build to make it better than it ever has been?
Well, they're also in the process of shutting down Golden Gate Fields. At the time, that was expected to happen at the end of this year. Now they've extended it 6 months. But at the time, there was an expectation that a lot of those horses were going to gravitate to Turf Paradise.
Turf Paradise and Arizona Downs. I mean, those caliber horses have a spot in our family. We could easily open our doors to a lot of places that, have great horses at a level. And I know some people say we don't want to race at Turf Paradise because, you guys don't have any graded races. And I go, it seems kind of weird that we don't. We got turf, we got dirt, we've got the weather, we've got everything. Why don't we have a grade 1? Or why can't we supply horses, like Golden Gate at, places like Arizona Downs and Relito and the fairs, but yet have a staple track that can handle, the purses and handle that kind of caliber horse? I don't see why not. I think my horses are that caliber. We just stay here because they got AZ attached to them, and my dad likes the checks from the state. So we stick around.
Yeah. Right, you got anything else?
Well, obviously, if this closes down and there's nothing there to replace it in December, there's going to be a lot of people out of work, because it takes a lot of people to put on the show. But there's also it also takes the horses. And are there concerns that some of these horses that are, that would have been pointing to the Turf Paradise meet are somehow in danger of just slipping through the cracks and not going into another racetrack, but going into a place where we don't want to see them go?
Well, thank goodness we have a program for that. We're letting people know you're not just going to dump these horses. If you can't if they're not race ready, or, mine aren't. Mine have been in the backyard eating grass and doing a great job. And, but we're in a better position that, we can sit and wait a little bit, but there are people that can't. They need to get rid of their horses now. They'll start dumping them at especially some of these other tracks, that are just ending Colorado. I'm seeing horses going through a program that Cynthia George and a few other people, and also our HVPA, have organized to say, hey, there is a spot for these horses, and we are marketing these horses so they don't end up showing up at, per se, the killers. I don't even know if we've got auctions that sell horses, but it doesn't mean they actually go to Mexico and they're being slaughtered, but we have our ATBA sale coming up, which technically, if there is a possibility they have a race horse that they want to put through as a broodmare prospect, a racing prospect, they have that option to even put it through our sale. But there's different avenues now, and there's so many these I can't think of the name of it, a lot of these hunter jumpers, and a lot of these people, man, they just flock to us and say, they'll come into my barn at Turf and say, hey, do you have anything that you might think might work with us that you might want to sell? And I'm like, you know what? I do have something that, maybe she isn't really quite running as much anymore, and I'll show them. And then, I pretty much either give it to them or, sell it for, $10 and I end up getting pictures from polo people. I got people that are barrel racing, jumping, people that are trail riding. It's amazing what my dad's horses and where they've all gone. I've actually got one that got supposedly put into the killers that's back east, and I'm determined to get back out for justice, which is put in a bad spot and went through 2 sales. And now there's some young ladies that are doing a fine job. They took the horse in and got in quarantine, and I'm going to see about trying to get it back. But there's a lot of avenues people can take without just dumping your horse. That's not necessary, and it gives us a bad name. And there's too many people out there that care enough to try to find a second home for them.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, we're not letting that happen here.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to help us understand the situation there a little bit better. We wish you, your family, and all the men and women in Arizona that depend on this industry the best going forward.
Well, thank you so much for your time and giving me time to be able to tell you that, racing's not done in Arizona, and there's too many of us that are just going to try to keep it alive, and we love it. So we just want everybody to keep joining in the fight. So, our jobs, our farms, we need the help. So if somebody wants to buy a track, we've got tracks for sale. Come to Arizona. See the weather. It's perfect.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this week's Friday show. Thanks for joining us again, Stacy. And
thank you so much.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Thanks again.
All right. Be well.
Support award-winning independent horse industry journalism and become a Paulick Report Insider on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, insiders get access to exclusive Q&As with Paulick Report staff, insight behind our editorial process, exclusive opinions and on-site analysis, Paulick Report merch, and more. This is not a paywall. The website you know and love will always be the same. But if you want more, and you want to make our coverage even better, visit patreon.com/Paulick Report and become a Paulick Report Insider today.